see the other big man, Manning, come up with one here in the transition.
A floating shot, and when you dribble that far from the hoop, everybody sees you dribble, and they're actually relatively easy shots to block because you have so much time to get your timing. Then we miss some shots, and here's after the first few minutes we get one to go down.
Yeah, Chief gets you going with a couple of big hoops, but you know, as we said, Brent Berry did not have a good night, and if he does try to drive with the ball, it does become a little obvious what's going on.
Well, he has a chance, and potentially he's an excellent future ahead of him, but he's still a sophomore, and judgment factors on his behalf. Sometimes are very flippant. And his defense has got to improve for him to be the caliber of player that we want him to be. And as soon as he improves on his judgment and gives us a little more floor leadership and gets to be a stopper on defense, then I think he has a chance to be an outstanding player. Until that day comes, though, it's still potential, and we still need to get a lot of improvement out of him.
Saw Pat Strickland in there, got him in a little early, makes a nice pass for one hoop. It makes a bad pass that turns into a hoop at the other end. Now some backdoor action to Scott Haskin. At halftime, though, it is a 12-point lead for the Huskies, 35-23. Start of the second half, get it going a little better. Charlie McKinney from the outside hits 2 threes back-to-back. And now Brent will get things going off the turnover. Solo.
Well, they're in a zone. They play a 1-2-2 zone, and they drop in the point man in there to double up on Scotty. So we've had to hit on the hit, and there you can see a charge. And those are the things that I think are unnecessary for a person of his caliber. He needs to make jump stops, and he needs to create things for us as he's going in and not take it too deep.
Get the lead down to 2 for the Huskies, but then Pope at the other end busts it back up to 9. Still, there's one more run in this team. Kareem Anderson again with the 3, and then Brent will come up with the solo effort, and you'll get the lead down to 1 again, and this is with 7 minutes to go.
There was a nice play by Brent. He anticipated the bounce pass and then does a nice fake and takes it in for a lay-in.
Charlie McKinney up with this one. This will set up a 3. Kareem Anderson. See ya. 1-point game. Scott Haskin. Still a 1-point game. 48-47. Just about 5 minutes to go, and it's from this point on that the comeback ends and the Huskies are able to put it away.
Well, we overcommit here a little bit, and then they come down. Right here, there's a goaltending thing on the basket that we thought should have been called. They got a good break there, in my estimation. But still, we broke down on the full court defense. It was helping us for a while, and then all of a sudden it hurt us.
10-point game, 61-51. The final score as the Huskies make their free throws down the stretch. We take a look at the numbers from this one, and I see UW shot the ball very well. There weren't a lot of shots taken in the game. Witness the number of total rebounds in the game. It was a very slow-paced game, and that zone slowed things down on the offensive end for the Beavers, too. Charlie McKinney, top scorer, 13 points, hit 3 trays. Chad Scott, 10 points and 6 rebounds. Kareem again solid off the bench. Pope and Perkins, 16 apiece. And again, the Huskies did that without Boston, one of their guards, who was left home for the weekend. So you get the split at 1-1, and we look ahead down the stretch. We're going to talk about the Arizona trip, but just at this point of the season, you're still playing 500 ball, and I know you want to bust out and finish with that winning record.
Well, we'd certainly like to, and it's not going to be easy because the Arizona schools are playing very well right now. They just got 2 big wins against intersectional opponents, so we've got our work cut out for it, but we haven't lost hope. We're still trying to improve, and we got a very positive attitude, so we're going to go in with the idea we're going to get an upset at Arizona and then try to get a good win at Arizona State.
We'll talk more about this week's trip to the desert a little down the road, but coming up next, we'll meet with a former Beaver who's made a great life for himself in the NBA. A.C. Green joins us when the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. One of our favorite OSU alums, AC Green, is in his 8th season in the NBA right now, continuing to hold down a starting spot for the Los Angeles Lakers. I talked with AC this past week about his NBA career and his memories of Oregon State. AC, I think basketball fans in this state still have the enduring memories of you, Benson High School, carried off the floor after a state championship, you on this floor after Far West Classic championships, most valuable player. This has sort of been the center of your basketball life. You still feel like that when you come back here and play with the Lakers?
Oh yeah, it's just so much history, you know, in Portland, you know, in the city, being born and raised here, and then my whole athletic career really has evolved from Portland, and it just has been just a dream come true in the sense of me developing into the kind of player and the style of play that I like to play. And I'm just very, very grateful for it. And playing in the state of Oregon at Oregon State was just a serious accomplishment also. And you never know what's going to happen when you go to college. You're trying to just make it through school in the first place, but then playing athletics was another story itself. And both of them worked out very well. I had a degree, and then I was able to go also into the NBA for a few years.
You've had one of the longer NBA careers of any OSU player, too. I think by the time you're done, you'll probably pass up Lester Connor, those guys, for total longevity. A lot of OSU players, especially played with Ralph Miller, they were in a structured system. What helped you stand out and be a better pro?
Well, I don't know if I turned out to be a better pro, but I thank you for the analysis at least. I think it's one thing where I grew up playing a fast-paced kind of game. Coach Dick Gray at Benson was one who really tried to teach professional NBA style of play, even at a high school level, where he just let us get the ball and fast break, throw long passes, make one-on-one moves. It was very open court kind of style. And when I went to Oregon State, I learned I had that ingrained in me already from the open style, but then I learned a lot of the half-court system, and that was sort of it gave me the ability, I should say, to play both the full court and the half-court game. And so I'm pretty diverse in the sense where I can play fast-paced or I can play sort of a walk-up game, and whatever the tempo is pretty easy for me. And I think by doing that, it's been able to keep me in the league this long, as well as being able to play with the Lakers, who sort of brought back out my high school days again.
And you've certainly had to play a few different roles with the Lakers, too. It hasn't been same old each year.
No, it's been one where this year, I think, has been pretty much the diverse. I went into the Lakers in '85 being a power forward, and then playing some center when we went to a smaller lineup. And then probably 3-4 years after that, I started going to the small forward position, as well as the 4 spot, which is the big forward, and then the 5 spot, which is the center. And then this year now, going into my 8th season, I played some in off guard. And so that's 4 positions. I only have 1 more left, and that's point guard. And I did that at Oregon State, so Coach Jimmy Anderson was kidding me over the past weekend at the Southern California trip that he said it's not a big thing if they try and get me to go point guard. He said, I was doing that for many years while you were at Oregon State.
So he obviously remembers that.
Oh, yeah.
You look at this year's Oregon State team now, you see a Scott Haskin, who people are talking about in the NBA. What's your read on him?
Well, I mean, I think he's very, very talented. I was talking to one of our Laker people down in California before we came up here for the Portland series. I thought he's very talented. You know, I think he has a good touch, good hands around the basket. He can jump very well. And it's just a matter of really learning the game and developing into the player and the potential that he really has. But I think he's in the best place for that development process, and as well the best coach for that, Jimmy Anderson.
You and Jimmy have had this running thing over the years since you ended up in L.A. that he always had a place to stay when he came down there. Has he ever actually stayed at your place?
No, he's never actually stayed there, but I think really probably the deterrent has been I've lived right across the street from Coach George Raveling. And so I don't think he really wants to get too close to the opposing coach all the time at USC there. And so I think that's probably one of the deterring factors. He'd wake up out of his room inside of my home and look right across into George's living room, and I don't think he likes that.
And you know, George would come over too if he knew Jimmy was there.
George would not let him sleep, probably.
There's been talk, and I know I think you've mentioned this before, that it might be nice to finish up your professional career back in your hometown. If things worked out that way, would you like that? Oh,
for sure. I mean, that's, you know, this where it all began. I don't think it's really any better place to end it off if that were the case. I'm enjoying myself in Los Angeles. I'm having such a great time playing with the team. Living down there, I'm still adjusting to that. I'm not having a great time living in LA, but I'm adjusting to it, and I still get lost in everything. I'm just a homeboy that's from Portland, and I like the country. I like the open area. I like the fresh air, and all that other stuff in Southern California really It's not really for me, but I'm making the best of it.
Somebody better tell Jeff Petrie to look for AC in the free agent market.
Yeah, well, I tell you, there's an outstanding young man. He's beautiful inside and out. And believe it or not, you kind of sometimes go out on a limb, but with him, you can say he's a saintly man. I mean, he practices what he preaches, and he gives of his time, his energy, his money for causes all over the country for the welfare of man. He's a very close friend, and I love him dearly.
AC Green trivia. When he comes to Portland, of course, he still stays with his family when the Lakers play the Blazers. Morning of the game, though, he's probably spent far too much time with mom and relatives, so he comes to the Coliseum early, and he takes a nap in the locker room before the Lakers have their shoot-around. And now you know the rest of the story. When we come back, we'll talk about Arizona, Arizona State this weekend's trip to the desert when the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Well, we're down to the home stretch of the Pac-10 conference season, and for the life of me, I still can't figure out who's going to postseason besides Arizona. We'll look at the standings right now. Again, Arizona very impressive because they've managed to stay undefeated. You always expect one of your rivals can beat you, but they have not been challenged yet.
Well, I think Arizona right now, other than the game here where we lost by 3,
That's
and we
right.
had a good chance to win that, UCLA is in the driver's seat. I think Arizona State has a good chance because they get a lot of games at home. And then the middle group where we're in, you're going to have to win almost all your games to get a bid.
And if someone's going to have to do that to break into that group. Let's take a look at Arizona first. That's Thursday night's opponent down in Tucson at the McHale Center. Assistant coach Andy McCloskey now gives us a scouting report on the Cats.
What we're going to show today on today's program is the Arizona #2 play. It's a play where they have a couple things going for them. They have a double screen along the baseline for Khalid Reeves. They have an option where if the ball goes to Reeves and he doesn't have a jump shot opportunity, where Chris Mills will come into the high post area. And lastly, they have a screen roll situation with Ray Owes and Damon Stoudemire at the top of the key. To start with, Stoudemire will have the ball here on the right side, and Reeves will come off this double screen. We've got to tag this screen and make sure that we get through it so that Reeves doesn't have a jump shot opportunity. From there, if they throw the ball from Stoudemire to Reeves, what will end up happening is Mills will end up looping around here like this, using Owes' down screen and coming here to the top. If they elect not to throw the ball to Reeves, Stoudemire then comes off of this screen in a screen roll situation where O's will roll to the basket. Stoudemire has the entire left side of the floor to work with. As you can see, this play has a number of different options off it that are very good for their personnel. They have Caleb Reeves coming off a screen to shoot the ball from distance. They have Chris Mills coming into the high post to be very active and be in a position where he's very effective with the ball. And lastly, they have Damon Stoudemire using the whole left side of the floor, going with his strong hand with his left hand.
And here they are in action, Arizona State. They met last Thursday, and believe it or not, this was no contest. They go down to Tucson for the rematch. First game was pretty close, and the Cats just throttled them. Lutz says, I can't stop them. What was it, 30-point win?
Well, it was a great win for Arizona, and they probably played their best basketball of the year. They upped their defense. They took care of the fast break. Three-point shooters for Arizona State weren't necessarily a factor, and they just really ran them out of their own gym.
Again, Arizona, the first matchup here in Corvallis, it was 57-54. Arizona did not play well. OSU definitely had an opportunity to grab that game. Arizona State came in, very entertaining team to watch, and they really lived them with three-pointers. The big guy is Steven Smith. He had 5 three-pointers here. Then he went down to Eugene and hit 10. Ended up Player of the Week. They are a real threat from the outside, and they extend their defense well and pressure the ball.
Well, he leads the nation. He's called Headache, and I can see why. Hope he doesn't give us one when we're down in Arizona.
Talk about Scott Haskin on the all-time scoring list. He's up to number 11 now, 14 more points, and he passes a blast from the past, Cliff Crandall, who graduated in 1949.
Well, that's a big name in OSU history of basketball, and it's a nice mark for him to surpass. His shot blocking is getting better. He got quite a few this weekend, and I'm hoping this weekend he gets about 50 of them.
All right, sounds good. We're off to the desert. We'll be right back here next week to tell you all about it on The Jimmy Anderson Show.
This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Akamian. Along with the coach, welcome to this week's edition of the Jimmy Anderson Show. The trip to the desert was tough, as we knew it might be, and now you're looking at the Civil War this week. Trip down to Eugene. You don't have to leave the state of Oregon for the rest of the regular season, and you're probably glad about that.
Well, we're very glad about it because it's going to be nice to get back to Gill Coliseum, stay in the state. I think we've logged over 20,000 miles this year. That's a lot of traveling.
That is plenty. Again, we knew this was going to be a tough weekend, and it's now 2 straight weeks where you've played at a better Thursday effort than the Saturday effort.
Well, both games were very difficult. We knew coming in that they were going to be hard games because both of them, Arizona, for example, they want to win the Pac-10 right out. So that was a big game for them, get a top seed in the country. Arizona State, on the other hand, they're playing for second place in an NCAA bid, possibility with a good record. So all of a sudden we're up against 2 very talented teams in their backyard, and we knew we had a job ahead of us. We came in with the thought we could win both games. At Arizona, it was one of those games that if we'd have shot a decent percentage, just shot our average for the season. We're shooting about 46%. We take more shots, we shoot 46%, we beat them by 1. Big if.
But you're there.
Yep.
11-13 now is the record for the season, 7-8 in the conference. Let's start with that Arizona game Thursday night down in the desert, the McHale Center. And you know what this place looks like? 14,000 maniacs in red sweaters. This guy walking on the sideline. It was their night to clinch the Pac-10 title because UCLA would lose. And you got to like the way this team's played against Arizona because I think it's the 2 closest conference games they've had to play this year.
Well, there's a nice play by Scott. He's usually triple and double team. That was kind of unusual situation to see him play just against one player there.
And you see Chief make a nice block there, good defensive play. Now we see the man who got hot, Khaled Reeves, and of course he had the big second half up here when Arizona rallied, and he was on fire in the first half.
Well, he didn't miss a shot. He hit all his shots from the field, all his shots from the free throw line, all three-point shots that he took, he made, so he was perfect.
So we go back and forth in the early going, and you're staying with them pretty well. There's Haskin with the turnaround, and then Mills gets up there for the tip. He's going to be on our All Pac-10 team this year. Get Kareem Anderson off the bench, and he makes a couple of baskets.
Well, it really wasn't a bad game. It was just one of those games where you shoot 37% on the number 3 ranked team in the country in a tough arena, you're going to have a hard time. It's just that simple.
And really, Arizona settled this game early on with their defense, and once you got things going, you kept it even the rest of the way. But they set the tone early enough in this game.
Well, they set the tone all right, but we still had some chances at the very end. We had 3 or 4 three-pointers that nobody around us, we missed them. They kept their starters in. They subbed at the last minute, so you know that they were concerned because they didn't have their regulars out of there. So it was, I think, a closer game than the score really indicated.
It was 12 points here at the half, 42-30 after Scott Haskins tip in at the buzzer. And here we go in the second half. The Chief finds Chad Scott. New hairdo for Chad. New hairdo for a lot of guys.
Well, that's the same old hairdo there.
You want to look like this guy?
You can't tell it, but that head is awful red from the sun.
Here's the Chief now, spinning in, draws the foul, three-point play, still an 11-point game. He got a new hairdo, too.
Well, he got a new hairdo, and he had got a cut in his eye in practice, and he's had a little bandaged over his left eye.
Off the turnover, Reeves goes in. He's got 23 there at the other end. Scotty will get up for the tip-in. And now Reeves again. This will get him up to 26. He's fouled. He's going to the line. Back at the other end, Chad Scott goes to the hoop. Drod goes to the line. Still a 12-point game. Now we see Scotty getting busy. Block number 1 of the night. You like that? Here's number 2. And that career record continues to grow. At the other end, Brent drives, jams it home. Now we'll see Chad, and this is the play that Scotty came up. A little sore afterward.
Well, I was going to take him out right there, but he's a tough guy, and we got to stall long enough to see if he could stay on it, and he stayed in the game, and I thought it was very commendable that, you know, it was a tough game, and we still had a chance, and he didn't want to come out.
And you see Reeves, who hurt his shoulder again in that game, still has 31 points. Outstanding night for him. And it's over in the desert. The final, Arizona wins it 81-70. And we take a look at the numbers from this game on the stats board. And there you see the shooting percentage. And again, that's probably the glaring number in this game, 37%. Three-point range, you had the opportunities, but 4-21 doesn't do it.
Well, we take 5 more shots than they do. They take 55, we take 59. And like I alluded to earlier, if we hit a decent percentage with the number of shots we've taken, we're right there.
And there's Reeves' numbers. He ends up 10 of 13. Scotty has a nice night, 23 points, 9 boards, and the 2 block shots. So that's Thursday night in Tucson. You're looking ahead to the Saturday game in Tempe, and you know it's a team you played with here. They'd already beaten you once here, so there was plenty of incentive going into that game.
Well, you know, we're still in the race for second at this particular time, and so it's a big game for us. We're still trying to think about hopes for maybe some postseason play, if not the NCAA at that time, maybe the NIT. And so it was a very important game. They needed the win very badly, and they came out and played very good basketball. I mean, they shot well, they defensed well. They actually defensed us probably as well as any team this year.
And we'll take a look at that game when we come back. Arizona State, the Saturday game. Arizona, by the way, with that victory Thursday, did clinch the Pac-10 championship. They're the first team in the country to qualify for the NCAA tournament. When we come back, we'll check out the ASU game. Saturday night, the Beavers swung into Tempe, the Activity Center, for a matchup with Arizona State. Much improved this year. They're picked to finish last in the conference. They're probably going to the tournament now. And this looked like it was going to be a great one early on because it was just back and forth, up and down the floor. And you said it earlier, they do defend very well, and that's really what started their offense this year.
Well, we decided on a game plan of going with the smaller unit just to counteract their quickness, and with the hopes that we get a good start. This is the first time we sat down Scott Haskins for a few minutes, 5 minutes to be exact, to start the game. And we did get a good start. And then we inserted Scott, and things still were going very well. Then all of a sudden, at 20-19, the roof fell in. And all of a sudden, we missed some shots. They got some steals. And there's a gap there that's pretty wide at halftime.
Yeah, let's take a look at it now again from Saturday night at the Activity Center. Mario Bennett, by the way, was on the bench in this game for Arizona State, so they were a little small too, and Bill Frieder always looks worried before games, gets that tie loosened before the opening tip-off even. But here we go early on. It was a highlight film for the first 5 minutes. Nice save by Pat Strickland. Gets things started. Brent Berry's going to find the Chief.
Well, like we said, we did get a good start. Their pressure really didn't bother us early. Here's a breakaway.
There's Capers going solo. And now we see a little of the back and forth action. McKinney will score, but they go long, making like the Sun Devil football team. They throw it long for Fontana. Touchdown.
Yeah, we worked all week on that too, not letting him get away from us. And lo and behold, right there at the first part, he gets one.
Here comes Riley in for a solo off of a turnover. We go back to the other end. Scotty's in the game now, and Pat's going to find him.
That was a very nice play.
Back at the other end. There's obviously a little lapse on defense here as Fontana gets loose.
Well, we're supposed to have some weak side help, and that was just one little breakdown. And they kept going to it. We made the adjustment, and they didn't get anything off that play, actually, the rest of the night.
Now it's 17-15 here, and again, it will be 20-19 before they really take off. Brent's going to take it in, but they get back well. Neal gets up there for the block, and then it starts. They roll off 13 straight. They call Steven Smith headache. He hits a lot of three-pointers, although on Saturday he did a little bit of everything. And Scotty will get something back here. This ends the streak with 3 minutes left, but by now it is 33-21.
Well, they pressed us out front and they extended our offense, and we had a hard time getting it into Scott Haskins. And that's one of the benefits of quickness and speed on the floor. We tried to match it for a while, and then finally it just got to us.
And they had some big runs here. You went towards the end of the first half, and then early in the second half, I think 4 or 5 possessions were turnovers, and you can't build continuity with that.
Well, it's very not only depressing, but it's kind of one of those things. Once you start turning the ball over, it becomes like a fever, and everybody was taking their turn sometime during this period of time to turning the ball over with some kind of bad pass.
And the second half, not much to show. J.D. Vetter gets in the game, nails a 3 there, and we're going to see towards the end as Smith finishes up his 20-point night. Ibu Chun gets in, and we can see Ibu hit a couple of baskets down the stretch. Ends up a 15-point game, 76-61. The Sun Devils win. They sweep the season series with Oregon State, and ASU, I think, now is definitely headed for postseason. They have important games this week in the Bay Area, which will set things up because I know Cal's trying to make a late push too, and then they'll be home for their final 2. So a good victory for the Sun Devils. You look at the numbers from this one. There's that 37 again on the shooting column, and obviously the turnovers, that margin of 10, that hurt as well.
Well, the turnovers is what was discouraging, because that was one thing we couldn't do. You subtract the difference, and that's 10 ball possessions. They're shooting at that %. That's enough to beat any team.
Mustafa Hoff ends up the high man, 13 points and 5 rebounds. Chad gets in there for 8 boards to go with his points, and then Steven Smith again, the high man for the Sun Devils. So that ends this trip to the desert. It's in Oregon for the rest of the season. The Ducks coming up this week, Civil War matchup Saturday night. We'll talk about that, but when we come back, we will visit with our feature player of the week, center Scott Haskins. Stay with us. Senior center Scott Haskin is our feature player this week, averaging 17 points a game. And, you know, Scotty, to make you feel more at home, I thought maybe we'd bring 3 guys here just to stand around you during the interview. It's been that kind of year. You can't go anywhere without drawing a crowd in this league, can you?
Yeah, it's interesting, to say the least. You know, Coach has been telling me there's things I can do to help do that, to counteract that. You know, like I think I need to become a better passer to get rid of some of those guys, and you know, I think that exploits one of my weaknesses. And you know, sometimes I do it, and sometimes you know I do it well. Sometimes I don't, and so I think that's something that I really need to really clamp down and work on, to maybe shed some of those guys. I don't know if it'll work this late in the season, but something's got to work, huh?
It's certainly catch-22. You come back as the dominant big man of the league, and that's great. But then again, everybody comes gunning for you because there aren't a lot of guys who match up with you one-to-one.
Yeah, it's a different league this year. Last year there was a lot of good big guys, and there wasn't a lot of double teaming and triple teaming, except you know for just a few teams like Arizona State and you know I think Oregon. But other than that, you know you had Sean Rooks, you had Adam Keefe, and all them, and there really wasn't a lot of double and triple teaming that was going on. But you know this year the league's a little different, and like I said, there's not a lot of big guys other than Ed Stokes and you know, Richard Petruska and stuff. So it's been a little different.
There you were in a rare shot in a shirt and tie at the Oregonian Banquet of Champions. You were nominated for the Hayward Award, a nice honor this year, and we get to see you in action here against some of the big men. Arizona State, Neil Gardner from the game up here. Can you judge the other big men of the league? I mean, is Petruska that good a guy one-on-one? Would you like to see more of these guys just one-on-one?
I really would. I think, you know, I think I got a lot of skills and stuff. Sometimes I don't get to play the type of ball that maybe that I'm capable of, because when you have 2 and 3 guys around you, it really limits your motion. What you do, you got to do it quick. And you know, it's been a learning experience for me. And you know, sometimes I don't handle it real well, and other times I do. But
well, one of the weaknesses too of our entire squad, and not to be trying to belittle anybody, is we really lack a lot of proficiency in passing overall. And so when you have a big man inside, we try to get him the ball, but sometimes we're just not capable because of our ability maybe to pass. Brent Berry is our best passer in my estimation, and Pat Strickland is the second best passer. And so what we try to do is have those two get him the ball just as much as they possibly can. It's not that the other players don't want to, it's just that at this point in their development, they're not just great passers. And so we need to upgrade that a little bit, and if we can get Scotty the ball, he can score. He can score on 3 guys, to be honest with you. The thing is that it's a rough game in there, so you're usually shooting off balance, and that's not a good thing to do. But he has a lot of courage, and he has a great future ahead of him. He's done an excellent job for us. It's amazing the leadership and the role model he is for this community in the state of Oregon. I wouldn't trade him for anybody.
You got the Ducks this week, and that was, well, I think, first matchup. You were 1 point off your career high with 32 points. You're looking forward to seeing them again.
I am. You know, it's never say die. You know, we're 11-13 right now, and certainly, you know, we're not too happy about that. But you know, you can't quit. You know, somebody asked me the other night. They said, "Do you ever get used to losing?" I said, "Heck no." You know, basketball is a game of winners. I go, you don't play the game to lose. You know, and whoever said winning isn't everything has obviously never played the game. And so you got to go out with the intent every day. You know, coach preaches in practice. You guys got to work hard, give 110% in practice, and it's all going to come out on the court in the game. And you know, that's why you got to practice, and that's why you got to play. And what else is there besides winning?
And you get to this point of a season, and I certainly haven't seen in this team, you know, things have gone wrong on the court, but I have not seen people quitting on the court.
That's exactly right. I think we got a real close-knit group of guys. Coach has done an excellent job of keeping us together. We've faced a lot of adversity, you know. Certainly, it's been a strange year. It has. I mean, nobody can deny that. But you know, we're gonna stick our necks out to the end.
How about you personally now? Talk about, you're going to be done with school here yet. You're going to get the degree. What's your major, Ben? What you going to get your degree in?
I'm going to get my degree in communications, minor in psychology. I'm graduating March 19th. I know the date well. Been here a while. I'm very proud of it. You know, a lot of people misunderstand the role of a student athlete on campuses, and you know, a lot of schools have athletes that don't graduate and stuff. Oregon State's got you know, one of the highest % of graduating rates in the Pac-10. And you know, I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud to add to that statistic.
And then I got a couple other dates this summer. I know in between attending some NBA rookie camp somewhere, you're going to squeeze in a wedding too.
Yeah, I'm getting married on May 8th to Tricia Howarth, and we're very excited. You know, everything has just fell into place really well. I've had a great time here at OSU, and you know, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
And I think people forget 2 years ago you had what could be considered a somewhat serious back injury. Maybe a question whether you would be able to play full out again.
Yeah, you know, that's when you really got to surround yourself with people who know you and people who are positive and uplifting. You know, coaches and everybody on our coaching staff and our training staff has stuck with us 100%. And, you know, that's what's really carried me through this whole thing is that, you know, I've had people by me that have always uplifted me. You know, certainly people around me say, well, that's too bad, you could have been a good player. But why those in with me said, you know, you're still going to be a good player. And that's what it all comes down to.
I know you dittos on that from the coach too.
Well, lots of dittos. And he forgot one other thing that he's got to do before he leaves school. I heard him say this the other day. He says he's going to find me a big man to replace him. So I'm going to hold him to that.
That's
We're recruiting right now. Coming to a household near you.
The real question is, though, are you going to shave your head to match the rest of the team like this week?
Absolutely not.
No?
No.
That was not your idea then for the other guys to do that.
No, well, we had a little bit of encouragement going on. I mean, I think black people look better with bald heads than white people for the most part, except Coach Anderson, exceptional looking guy either way. So,
thank you, Scott.
You still got 3 more games with him.
That's right.
Want to.
Myself, I don't think I want to shave my head before I lose my hair. I think I'll let it happen naturally.
Good plan. Scotty, thanks again for being with us. Scott Haskin, our featured player this week. When we come back, the coach and I will talk about Civil War, Round 2. Stay with us. It's the coach's favorite week of the year, Civil War Week, this one in Eugene at MacArthur Court. We'll talk about that in a second. First, let's look at the Pac-10 standings now. With 2 weeks left to play, Arizona has clinched the championship. They are in the big party. The question is now, how many other teams go? I know we're hoping for 4 out of a league. Arizona State's looking good. They got to go to the Bay Area. What does UCLA have to do to get in?
Well, they have to probably win the rest of their games, and they play half of them at home. They got a good shot. I think the top 4 right now, depending on Cal's situation, because Cal has some tough games coming up. it'll be interesting to see what happens to them.
Especially with the games here. And certainly
Right.
we're going to have something to say about that. Then you look at SC and Oregon State and Washington still in that NIT picture. The Ducks now coming to this week. You see their numbers, 2-13 in Pac-10 conference play. They won their first 2 games against the Washington schools. Coach Green went ahead and played Arizona without 3 players. I understand they should be back by this weekend. I assume you have to just count on them being available for that game.
Well, we're going to definitely practice as if they're playing. One of them is a starter, Collier, so we're going to be prepared to take on him. But they do a lot of substituting, so if they play, they will add to their forces. If they don't play, they have enough players, I think. They'll just play more minutes.
Now, before we talk more about the Ducks, let's get a scouting report on the University of Oregon. Here's assistant coach Andy McCloskey.
What we're going to show today is the Oregon box set. In this particular offense, they get a lot of movement. They have their bigger players out on the floor, their smaller players setting back screens. There's a lot of movement and a lot of screening. It starts with a pass from 1 to 4. 1 screens for 5, who comes to the top. 3, as you'll see on the board, comes into this area and will screen for 4. On the second board you see here, 4 has the ball, reverses it to 5. Now if you're overplaying 1, he makes a quick cut back door, and they're very successful on that. If they're able to get the ball to 1, they swing the ball here to 1. 4 runs off of 3's back screen, and then 5 screens for 3 in a pick-the-picker action. As you can see on this play, they get a lot of movement, a lot of back screens, front screens, a number of different type of screens. It's important that we're talking, that we're not overplaying too much at the wing so that the point guard's able to beat us back door where we have very little help. As you can see, there's a lot of different things that we need to defend. Talking and communicating will be very important if we're to successfully defend this play.
Jerry Green has put a good system in there. The question is, how well will they execute? First time around, you beat them by 8 at Gil Coliseum. They're doing a better job since then. How much better?
Well, I think they're a fine team. They have a good system, and they're executing, I think, very well at this point. Stottlemyre and Williams right now are probably their 2 best scorers, and they seem to be on some hot streaks in shooting. Those 2 players, they're always dangerous. They've always hurt us. So I expect a very, very tough, difficult game in Eugene.
Game time Saturday night at Matt Court. We'll see you here next week on The Jimmy Anderson Show.